Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, today is the update for the week. It's actually Saturday. I missed I was so busy Friday I didn't get the update going. I just got back from the U.S. Open, the big Bass Pro Shop, big giant $1 million tournament that was just won by a couple Auburn University students that I'd met previous this year. But anyway, it was such a cool deal. Johnny Morris hit a home run. Now see what this $1 million tournament was. It was the accumulation of all 350 teams that qualified through 8 of the other qualifying events. Here at Okeechobee, there was one at Lake St. Clair, there was one up in Texas. They were all over the country. I went to them all, and I helped out, and Johnny really appreciated that as well. And what this did, this benefited conservation. What Johnny doing with this whole thing, every single penny from all the entry fees, from all those tournaments, went to benefit conservation. And so he wrote a check out just the other day for $1,580,000, something like that, to go to habitat restoration for lake restoration. And so this is another conservation effort that he's hit a home run. You know, people don't realize this about Johnny Morris, but his whole passion in life right now is not making $1 million, because he's done that. His passion in life is giving back to conservation. And he doesn't like me to tell anybody this, but you know, he has personally been responsible for raising in the neighborhood of $100 million for conservation. He is the largest contributor to conservation ever in the whole world. Nobody's ever contributed those kind of funds ever. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt's the father of conservation, and we know that as a president. But he didn't use his own money; he used the government money. Okay, but Teddy Roosevelt was a great conservationist as well. But Johnny's the modern day Teddy Roosevelt. Yes, he is. Well, the tournament was won by 2 young Auburn boys, and the really kind of interesting thing about it was this summer there was an ICAST show in Orlando, and Auburn University sent their team to recruit young people to come to Auburn University to join their fishing team. And one of the people they talked to was my granddaughter Hillary. My son Scott was there, and sure enough, I talked to these guys. In fact, I talked to Tucker, one of the guys that won the $1 million. Now, not only did they win $1 million, they split between them, they also each won a brand new Toyota truck, and they each won a brand new, beautiful nitro boat like this one. And so that was, each one of them received $650,000 worth of cash and prizes. What a deal for college kids. Anyway, and so I talked to Tucker, and all week we were just talking about fishing before he won the tournament. I didn't know he was going to win. And he kept talking about, well, Roland, I'm finding these balls of shad. Now, he was using the Garmin system. The Garmin system is called the Live Scope. This is the Roland system. It's called the Active Target, but it's the same thing. I mean, it's almost identical. So what this does, now look at this, I want to show you something. This is the turret system, and I push that button, and the transducer rotates that way. Now I can run the trolling motor and steer it however I want it, and I can run this transducer and spot the balls of shad, I can spot the stump, I can spot the fish, whatever I want to spot, I can individually spot with this and hold it. Like, I'll put it in spot lock. The trolling motor can go back and forth every which way. This operates independently from this. So anyway, this is what the boys did. They found these balls of shad, and they took spoons and swim baits and dropped down into them because they could see them on this unit, and they caught the winning fish. Not only just that one team, but like about a dozen teams did that. I mean, you know, they were really doing well. Okay, so that was one big thing that happened. It took all week to get that going. I was up there with Ronnie Curry, and we hunted deer, and I shot a coyote with my crossbow, and we did all kind of really neat fishing up there as well. And I did some other fishing on Bull Shoals Lake, and did a bunch of YouTube stuff, which you'll see. And I used the Active Target as well. So I'll show you that. But the other thing I'm doing right now, it's Christmas time. I'll just show you something. You know, this is the time to think about a gift. And the perfect gift, I'm just going to tell you, I think, is if you're a serious sportsman, hey, if you can afford $200, hey, what about one of my turkey calls? What about one of my handmade turkey calls? I'm telling you, folks, that's a big deal. Let me just tell you about these turkey calls. This is what I'm doing. I've made up all these calls here, and I got another 20 or 30 made up. And they're all crafted after the Neil Cost original boat paddle. Neil died about 25, 30 years ago, but before he died, I knew Neil, and I got a couple calls from him, and he would help me make, in fact, I made my first calls, which weren't very good, and I'd call him on the phone. I'd say, Neil, how come this sounds so crazy? What can I do with this call? And he'd say, throw it in the trash can. But I got better and better with it, and now I can take a call like I've made, one here I made. Listen to this. I'm telling you, folks, I got the deal worked out. I can make these turkey calls sound so good. And here's another thing that I do. I autograph them, and I put the person's name. Right now, I don't have any name. But I also talk about I handcrafted this call, and I talk about where the wood's from. I talk about the history of Neil Cost making these calls. And then I put a number on them. Down here at the bottom, see, this is number 264. I got in this book, and I keep all the names and numbers of the registrations, and I take all the different people that I've sold these calls to, and I've got their numbers down there, so I have everybody's number all registered. So it's a registered call, $200. Getting a hold of Judy M. at fishingwithrolandmartin.com. That's Judy M. at fishingwithrolandmartin.com. $200. Hey, we got a great Christmas present. Judy will take care of it. I'll get you one of these good calls. Hey, that's a big deal. Okay, let's get out to the boat again. I want to talk to you about how what's the next thing on my agenda, and that is coming up these next couple days. I'm back at the Headwaters. Now I'm a shiner fisherman, and right now the shiner fishing is red hot. Tell you what's happening. I got all these big nets, and let me tell you what I do with the nets. Now this is shiner poles, and I got hog food, and I got these big nets in here. I want to just tell you a little bit about a net. These nets are big commercial nets. These are big 10-foot nets, 12-foot nets. This happens to be a 10-foot Clusa net. Anyway, I throw these nets out there, and they cover a great big 20. It's 10 foot covers 20 foot. Okay, it's a 10-foot radius. When you shiner fish, you need at least 4 dozen shiners. Now, shiners are $24 a dozen. That's the problem with shiners. And you can buy them at all kind of different places. And when they have shiners, when they're available, they're $24 a dozen. But a lot of times you can't buy shiners because they've sold out of shiners. So I catch my own shiners. Okay, when I throw a big net like this, I'll take hog food. I get big hog food, and I throw it out there in these little places, and I throw this great big net. I'm really good at this because I've done this commercially for years and years. I ran big shiner operations over Lake Okeechobee. And I can throw a cast net. I'm a professional. So anyway, I throw the cast net out there a couple times. I get between 8 and 12 dozen shiners. Okay, that's $200, $300, $400 worth of shiners. I got $200, $300, $400. Now I put them in a great big tank. They're livelier than baits that you'd buy at the store. They're bigger, and they're more of them, and they're free. So I catch more fish. That's the main thing. When you have good fresh bait, you catch more fish. Whoever has the best bait catches the most big bass, and I have the most big bait, and I really do catch a lot of bass. Taken quite a few 10-pound bass this last month, a bunch more 8-pound bass. But the neat thing about my shiner fishing this year, the last 10 trips, this is really incredible. Some guys had only caught 5 or 6 pound bass, and I ask everybody when they get in the boat, I said, "What's your biggest bass? What's your personal best?" And they'll say something like, "Well, 6 pounds." So, okay, I can work on that. I don't always catch a 6-pounder every single minute, but I do catch a lot of 6-pound bass, and most likely about 98% of the time I'm going to catch one bigger than that for the day. And so I try to get them their personal best. And out of the last 10 trips, at least one person out of the 2 people in the boat, at least one person got their personal best with me for the last 10 trips. And they all said this. Every single trip said it was the best fishing trip they've ever had. So it was successful, a really successful time. Now there's great lure fishing as well. And let me just show you what I can do with this active target, because we talked about this whole system right here. This active target was so cool that now I can come up to a wall of hydrilla there at Headwaters, for example, and off those deep canals or those deep gravel pit areas, and I can see a whole big wall, just like that wall of vegetation right there, and the bass will be laying right against it. and I can see them with this active target. I'll say, oh, there's one over there. Now this, I'm holding with spot lock, or I'm just holding with the trolling motor, and I'm looking over here and I'm seeing a bass. So I know it's like 30 feet away. It tells me on my screen it's 30 feet away, it's 5 feet deep. I can throw my lure over there. I can actually see the lure go down to where the fish is, and I can see them come out from the weeds and hit the thing. Now they're not all bass. A lot of times they're mudfish, a lot of times they're garfish, a lot of times they're tilapia. So it's not always bass. But here's the deal. If I don't see any bass, if I see nothing, if I take this active target, I look on those hydrilla line over there, and I see no fish, zero, I don't fish there because there's no fish there. But if I see a bunch of fish, at least a few of them should be bass. In fact, I can kind of tell from the depth of them and where they are in relationship to the weed cover itself. I can kind of tell the bass from the other fish. Not always, but a little bit. And so I'm pretty good at doing that. So I'm going to be going over there, and I'm leaving right now, getting ready to go. And I got my boat ready. It's about a 3-hour trip. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take off and say, hey folks, I'll see you, and I'll give you a report on this Headwaters thing I'm telling you. I'm catching some fish, son. I'm catching big bass. So, we'll see you soon, and I'll be in touch. Don't go away. Okay, thanks for watching.